Have you
ever been in the pit of depression? Okay.
You ever heard the wolf cry? You know when I got depressed?
Yeah.
Was when I married you.
Horrible. I was the reason for your depression.
I didn't say you were the reason why I got depressed. I'm just saying, like, shortly after our wedding, I had that season of depression, and that was tough. Today, we're going to be talking about depression. It's something that not a lot of people like to talk about. It's one of those taboo things in Christian circles, I guess in society at large, where you say if you're depressed, it's your fault. It's a bad thing. Just don't talk about it. It's all in your head. Get over it, kind of a thing. And that's just not the most helpful advice, especially if you are going through depression or you have a friend or a loved one that's going through depression. You realize that it's a little bit more than just get your head straight. And so in today's video, we're going to be sharing a little bit of my experience through depression and what it's like being the supporter in that moment and what the Bible has to say about that. So stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Emily.
And you are watching That Christian Vlogger. On this channel, we like to try and make the Bible a little bit more approachable and understandable and hopefully make it practical so you can live it out in your day-to-day moments. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about my experience through depression and how the Bible can speak life into a moment like that. I am not afraid to admit and to say that I have been depressed before. I jokingly say it was right after we got married, but that's the truth. It was actually right after we got married. We moved from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, and new jobs, new place to live, first time being married. It was tough. It was stressful. It was a lot of anxiety, and I found myself after a number of months getting depressed and feeling like it was hopeless and like I was failure in life and just really feeling discouraged.
So just all that change was, you think, is the cause of your depression or your job? Or
I think change was definitely a big part of it. People always say, oh wow, that's a lot of change, and I never understood why that meant a lot, because there's a lot of stress whenever you move, when you do certain things. There's a lot of stress. But I think also it was just an unhealthy view of my self-worth and my value. As a guy, we don't struggle, generally speaking, with like body image or like, oh, am I pretty? Am I beautiful? Like, a lot of women, that's kind of how they define themselves. As men, we define ourselves with, am I successful? Do I contribute to the company or the business? And can I bring home the goods, the money, as it were? And my job, being it the first time I was trying that, was very challenging. And I found myself losing confidence, and over time, having tough experiences and losing battles here or there, just kind of giving up and wanting to just curl up in a ball and never get out of my bed anymore. But I know that, depression isn't just difficult for the person who's going through it. It's also difficult for those who love that person, whether that's a spouse or a friend or a family member. So I'm kind of curious as to what that experience was like from you. You saw the depression coming, and what was that like?
So for me, it actually wasn't too bad. I wasn't working full time at the time, so I was able to put my energy and support into supporting him and making sure he was taken care of. One of the things I learned in therapy school was the signs and symptoms of depression and lack of self-care in that person's life. So I really started to notice that in Justin's life. He wasn't...
What are some of those signs?
Like not taking care of yourself, like neglecting, like he wouldn't initiate to eat meals, he wouldn't take showers on a regular basis, he would have a hard time getting out of bed, his affect and was overall depressed.
It was kind of crazy.
Sad.
I mean, I was sleeping like 14-hour nights, but still waking up like exhausted.
Yeah, and
like
that's
feeling
a
like
big
I got hit by a
sign.
train still.
That's a big sign of depression, is like needing a lot of sleep, but not feeling rested or not getting a lot of sleep. So a lot of the signs, and so I was like, man, this really is depression and we need to go see a counselor about it as well.
You had suggested that, and I had actually talked to my boss at the time, because we worked at like a Christian school, and they were very, very supportive and sympathetic. They're like, yeah, there's this person that we would suggest, go visit the counselor. And growing up, like my view on counseling was kind of like, oh, that's just dumb, they're just gonna lie me on a couch and ask me how I feel, and that's like, what value is that? But it wasn't really like that at all. It was very, very insightful, very helpful. I found that it was really nice to have like a safe space to be able to share my doubts and my discouragements, and to realize that this is actually a normal part of the human experience. Something that I found out that was really interesting and studying this out for this video was that there are many people who've actually experienced depression in the Bible. And some people that we actually look up to as heroes of the faith. So for example, Elijah, right? The guy who went to heaven, like literally didn't die and went to heaven. There was a moment where he was, he had a great success in his ministry, but then the next moment he was discouraged and depressed, so much to the point where he literally told God, I have had enough, take my life. And he's not the only person like that. Jeremiah also said, basically, in Jeremiah 20, he says, cursed be the day that I die. He says, cursed be the person who told, who brought the good news that I was born. Curse that person. He was so discouraged. And then even Jesus, Jesus in the book of Mark said, my soul is deeply grieved to the point of death. Sorrow is part of the human experience. That's actually something that people go through all the time. And it doesn't have to be like someone died, therefore I'm sorry, I'm sad. Of course you could understand that, but it could be other things as well. And so realizing that I was not alone and that this is a normal part of human life, and that there's actually things that I could do to kind of turn those things around.
So what were some things that counseling really helped you with your depression?
So she recommended a lot of what seemed like cliche things, but made a lot of sense. Things like, you need to exercise more, because exercise gets you dopamine, it makes you happy. You need to eat better. You need to take care of yourself and make sure you're showering and brushing your teeth, which was kind of a weird thing to suggest, but it's true. I was neglecting those things. But one of the things that they mentioned, two things stood out in particular. The first one was to get out of bed. And I think that's so valuable advice when you're going through a season of depression, because all you want to do is just stay in bed. But the thing that helps you get out of that is, interacting with people, engaging in hobbies that you love. And so it's important to kind of force yourself to get out of bed and really just still charge forward with your day.
Yeah.
The second thing that she suggested was to find something that you love doing and keep making sure that that's something that you keep up on, whether that is playing a board game or drawing or journaling or something. And for me at that season, it actually was the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Everything else in my life, I was just kind of I don't care about that as much. But the YouTube channel was definitely something that I found a lot of joy and fulfillment through. And something I guess in hindsight I learned about this is that in the moments of depression, God was still working. God was still teaching and leading. And it's in a certain sense, partly because of the depression, that I have a YouTube channel today. It's because that was the thing that I channeled my remaining energy into. And I found that was really helpful to have a focus other than, woe is me, my life is in shambles, poor me.
So was there a point for you that all of a sudden you woke up the next day and you're not depressed anymore? Was it a gradual incline, or what was the leading up to the events that got you out of depression?
Yeah, people ask that a lot when they find out that you've been through depression, what made the difference? Because, they want to do whatever the difference was for their friend or their loved one. But the answer is it really wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't as though that there was just one thing. What it was a slow buildup. It's not like when you look outside and it's snowing, all of a sudden, boom, 10 feet of snow just hit the ground. It's a slow buildup. It's by speck, but over time, it builds up. And that's what it was like for me getting out of depression. There was no singular moment. It was just over time, these habits that I had neglected, exercise, eating well, self-care, spending time with people that I love, doing things that I enjoy. I had neglected all of those things, and I was kind of burnt out. And making sure that I was making those a priority actually helped me to kind of turn things around. And so that's what really helped out a lot. Here's something interesting about the Bible, how we talked about there's people in the Bible that have been depressed. This is a normal part. If you read through the Psalms, you'll see so many moments where even David felt discouraged or depressed. Think about this. There's an entire book in the Bible called Lamentations.
Yeah.
In other words, crying and feeling bad for yourself. That's what lamenting is. So this is a normal part of human experience. But what's great about this is that even in these moments, God is still there. So Psalms 34, in closing, verse 18 says this: "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." And in those moments, the most important thing is, you could do all these other things, but the most important is to realize that, while you don't have the strength to fight for yourself, God will send people in your place that love you and will help you. But even beyond that, you're not only just fighting for yourself, but God's the one who's fighting for you. When your strength gives up, when you feel like you can't go on, God's there fighting for you, and he will restore you. So we hope that that's encouraging for any of you guys going through depression right now. We want to encourage you, don't give up. God's there for you, and we are too. So if you have any other questions, if you have anything that you would like to know, let us know in the comment section below, and we'll be praying for you guys. We hope this video helps.
But until next time, we're That Christian Vlogger, and we encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.